Hi, my name is Amy Mozzie, and I'm with Supreme Boats. And today I'm going to walk you through the all new 2026 Supreme S220. This boat is 22 feet long, it accepts as many as 14 people, and it can have as much as 4,400 pounds of ballast. Let me tell you about it. The Supreme S220 has its own unique style. The windshield on this particular boat, we call it the sports shield, is really made to complement the lines of the S220. It also has a lot of functionality built into it. Because it is wingless, it allows you to speak to a fallen rider without standing up from the driver's seat. It also allows you to reach out to a dock if you're coming into dock, or perhaps just speak to someone that's in the water, all from a seated position. It gives you all of that functionality, yet it also adds another depth of beauty to the boat itself. And speaking of beauty, you can color this particular boat with 17 different main colors. And the main color is the main part of the boat that's colored. This particular boat is brilliant purple metal flake, but you have 16 other choices that you can signature style your boat the way you want. You also have 5 different gel coat color choices on the bottom and the top deck of the boat. We call that the base. So you can really make this boat all you. Speaking of the style of an S220, a signature element that you really can't miss is the F-Series Tower by Roswell. This particular tower looks like it was made to go with this boat because it really was. It follows the lines of this Supreme really well, but it also has a lot of functionality built into it. It is a folding tower, a manual folding tower, which means you have to fold it down and fold it back up. However, there is a patented mechanism, a cam latch that Roswell has built into each one of the legs of this tower to take all the weight off of it and then be able to lock the hoop of the tower down onto its mounts. So there is no shaking, no rattling. It's extremely strong. And you can add quite a few options to this tower. You can add racks to it. The racks on this boat are the Bombshell 1.0 racks by Roswell. You could also add speakers or stereo system to this boat. This has the Champ stereo system on it. So it has 2 10-inch horns mounted to the tower. You can also add a bimini to this tower. This bimini is a Roswell bimini. These particular options really add to not only the look, but also the functionality of the F-Series tower. Still, with all of these amenities installed, I can fold this tower down and up by myself because all of the weight is taken off of it. The tower is beautiful. It's just as functional, and it has to be to go on to this S220 Supreme. As we move down the profile of the S220, you start to realize just how beautiful this boat is. But again, there's functionality built into this beauty. One of the things that is probably the most functional, which also looks pretty good, is the dual fuel fills. So we've got a fuel fill on both sides of the boat. Where does this help you? When you're at the fuel station and you're towing with whatever vehicle. It doesn't matter what side your tow vehicle fills on, you can pull in one way, fill both the truck and the boat, and then you're off to the lake. It's that simple. You also have beautiful available pull-up cleats on the Supreme S220. You can get as many as 6 on this boat. And while they do go with the look of the boat and they tuck away when they're not in your use, you've got the ability to pull them out, tie them off to the dock, and keep your boat secure at any time from 3 different positions on either side. You also have a rear fresh air vent that filters fresh air through to your engine. It's also adorned with the model designator, in this case S220. It's cut into the vent itself, and it gives a nice look as well as a needed function. You also have the availability to customize your boat at this point on the profile of the boat itself. We can customize the Supreme decal. So we've got the black decal here, and it's a matte black, not a shiny black, but you could opt for a shiny silver or a matte white decal as well. So we give you the opportunity to customize the look, to accentuate the style of the boat, but make no mistake, there is always a ton of function built in to Supreme style. The S220 has 4,400 pounds of ballast available in 6 different locations. And for 2026, it's filled with new sea flow pumps. These pumps pump 13 and a half gallons per minute, which is a 68% improvement over pumps of yesteryear. So it gives you a way faster fill. You are not having to wait as long to fill all of that ballast. But what's the point of all of that ballast? It's really to displace the hull, the EZV hull of the S220. What that gives you is a mass of water that can then be ordered by the available quick surf tabs that are mounted on the rear corners of the boat. The way these tabs work is the tab opposite the surf side goes down. It creates lift opposite the surf side and displaces the surf corner. That's what creates the curl out of that mass of water that's being displaced from the ballast. When you want that curl to switch to the other side, it's just a button press at the dash and it shifts in 2 seconds. It's that fast and that easy, hence the name Easy V Hull. The Stinger wake plate is standard on the S220 Supreme, and what it does is it changes the running attitude of the boat. When the plate goes down and the boat is underway, the bow of the boat goes down. The most aggressive part of that hull that's underneath the bow cuts through the chop and gets it down into the water when the plate is down. When you raise that plate back up, it allows the nose to come up and to get the back of the boat deeper into the water. And at the same time, it changes the wetted surface of the EZV hull, changes the shape of your wake or wave. Now you can opt for the silent Stinger wake plate, which adds another level of functionality to the Stinger wake plate, which is silence. It dampens the engine noise, and it does this by forcing water into through the bottom of the plate that tumbles through a series of baffles with the engine exhaust, which is also ported into the plate. What this does is takes down the noise of the engine to levels that are of a kitchen dishwasher. It's 75 decibels at the observer's seat, so extremely quiet, where you can have a normal sounding conversation. No one's raising their voice to be heard, and it makes for a more relaxing day on the lake. It is a party on the back of the S220. I mean, not just because this boat is purple and, purple's for parties for sure, but this is the place everybody wants to hang out. It's also pretty functional. I can put my shoes away so they never end up on the inside of the boat and mess with any of my upholstery. But I can take a seat, a very comfortable seat, and hang out back here while the kids are swimming. We also have access to change the tunes on the stereo, and you've got that optional transom remote that's mounted just below the rub rail, and you can access it if you're swimming in the water or if you're hanging out on the back sun pad. I also have a sun pad that's uninterrupted by a walkover, which I think is really comfortable because if I want to lay out, I don't have to worry about a hard fiberglass part that I'm laying on. I can just lay a towel out and be as comfortable as possible. The back of the Supreme S220 is really comfortable and accommodating, and it's got some function built into it as well. As I walk into the S220 and sit down, this is a really big 22-foot boat. I mean, it's rated for 14 people. And that means that we have to have places for 14 people to sit. And you feel like you could get that many people in here comfortably. But also the cushions themselves are pretty comfortable. They're made with spradling vinyl and they have a 17 mil top coat, which guards against abrasions, but it also gives it a cool looking finish and it feels nice. This particular interior is OTB. So it's got a special texture to it, outside the box texture. It kind of looks like an opened up box. But the great thing about this is when you have a darker color on the interior, like in this particular interior, we did charcoal on the main, it gives you the ability to still not burn yourself with that darker color because the texture dissipates the heat better. It has more surface area. So it allows it to be a little bit cooler even in full sun. But you've got that beautiful look. You've got that really soft, plush feel. And you have the resilience of the interior itself. The spraddling vinyl is extremely strong, but it's sewn together with Teflon thread. And Teflon thread is extremely strong as well. In fact, it is even a little bit stronger than the vinyl itself, but we also stitch it a lot. And what I mean by that is we'll take two pieces of vinyl and we won't just put a single stitch joining those two pieces. We will add two stitches, which is called a half stitch. We will add three rows of stitching, which is a French seam in really high stress areas. So this interior is not only beautiful and comfortable, it's extremely resilient and it is going to last a really long time. It's also customizable on top of that. So there are 12 different colors of vinyl that I could introduce into a Supreme S220 interior. I could make this look almost any way I want. And then I can match that vinyl to my gator step if I'd like. The gator step is the non-skid that is on the floor. And this particular pattern is a Supreme cut, and it's available in 2 different layers and 3 different colors on each layer. So I can mix and match those to really go with the design I've chosen for my upholstery. It allows me to be in control of the look of my Supreme S220. And I think on this one, I did a pretty good job. In a surf boat that can accommodate as many as 14 passengers, you need some room for 14 people's stuff. And the S220 definitely has that. In fact, there's storage underneath every lounge seat. And the great thing about this storage is the inside of the storage areas are rhino lined. So it gives you that non-skid, both that consistent look, but also that grippy texture that doesn't have your stuff sliding from front to back as the boat is underway. I also have hinges on my seat cushions, so I can just lift it up with one hand, load my stuff with another one, and then tuck it all away. I also have a lot of cup holders in the S220. I've got 4 on this side, 4 on that side, a couple at the observer, a couple at the driver's seat, and some in the bow. So these cup holders are accessible from just about every seat. And some seats, like where I'm sitting now, I could have 2 drinks if I wanted to. I also have my stereo system speakers from wet sounds that are spilling sounds into the interior of this boat. I also have the model designator in each of the side panels, which remind me of the Supreme that I'm in. There's a lot of accommodation in this S220, and just because it's a 22-foot boat doesn't mean we haven't thought of those little touches that are going to help you in a day on the water. The observer's area in the S220 is pretty large. I could have another person sitting with me here. And sometimes we call this area the OB, but it's the observer seating area. And there's a lot going on besides having a lot of room to just hang out and chill. You also have a bunch of storage. So I can put anything and everything in the observer storage area. I can fill this thing up, whether it be with my wind block, bumpers, towels, vests, you name it. I can shove it all in here. The great thing is with Supreme, I don't then have to access my battery switch in that same observer storage area, which isn't the norm, but I can access it here in the glove box. So no matter how much stuff I have in my observer storage area, I don't have to dig through it to get to my battery switch because my battery management system is in the glove box. And this gives me easy access. It also gives me a ton of functionality that's different from a typical isolator switch because with this system, the batteries are truly isolated. I can turn on and off my house and my engine battery separate from one another. I can choose to tie them together if I want them to be able to use each other's energy, or I can keep that tie separate and I can sever that. And it's real easy to do. So I can turn my house batteries on. I can make sure that they're connected as far as the engine goes, or I can turn my engine off. And then my engine battery is just ready, waiting there for me when I need that power. And if I want to hang out in a cove, listen to my stereo, run the lights, then when I'm ready to go back to the dock, I can just turn my engine battery on, crank the engine, and I'm headed home safely. It's that easy to use, and I have real easy access to it. I also have my PDM breaker panel in the glove box. This gives me easy access to all of my PDMs to be able to reset them in case I have a technical issue. Now, I would recommend that you consult a certified technician for Supreme boats before you mess with the breakers. But sometimes, if you end up with a small issue on the lake, that could save the day for you and your family. And it's all accessible in the glove box. The driver's area of the Supreme S220 is extremely comfortable, but it's also accommodating. I can swivel my seat around and participate in the conversations that are happening in the lounge. But when we're ready to pull a rider or ready to just head back to the dock, I can swivel back around so I can take my focus to the water in front of me. And it's really easy to do because the dash in the Supreme S220 has an extremely low brow, yet it has a big touchscreen that I can see. And the way that the graphics are done on the touchscreen, it makes it really easy to understand what information I'm being presented with. I've got my home page where I can see all my speed control information, as well as my miles per hour and my RPM. And I can see things like my battery levels, my temperature, my oil pressure, all of that information, my fuel levels, all of that is really easy to see. I can also control a few things like my speed control, my zero off speed control, all from the screen, as well as my stereo levels. I can click on my little speaker there or touch my speaker and increase or decrease the sound of the stereo from there as well. But if I'm looking to get some other navigation or go to some other systems in the boat, that's all with a menu that appears on the left-hand side. So if I hit my little menu icon, it comes up. I can access my surf, my ballast levels, my mapping, my stereo controls, my system settings, all of that from this screen. And it's really easy to get to. I also have easy access to my cell phone with this optional clamping wireless charging cell phone holder. It allows me to have my phone right here and easily accessible at any time. New for 2026, I also have another way to access my stereo functionality, which is this Wet Sounds remote mounted here. The cool thing about this remote is it still has a regular old volume knob. I love that. As a driver, it's really important to me to be able to hear, especially if I'm coming back around to pick up a rider that has fallen. And I'm also of an age where I sometimes think that if I can't hear, I can't see. So it's really important for me to be able to turn down that volume quickly, especially in the circumstance of pulling a rider. But I also have access to some other really cool features that are quick and easy access. Things like my navigation lights, my docking lights, my interior lights, underwater lights, my bilge pump, my blower. All of those are controlled with rocker switches at my right hand. So I don't have to come off my throttle very far to have access to any of that control in the boat. And when we're talking about having access to the throttle, I have a great little armrest here that puts my arm at the right height to control the throttle. And in this particular boat, it comes with a 409 foot-pound of torque engine. It is an engine that's marinized by PCM, and it gives you all of that power to get you and your rider up out of the water quickly and on plane. It's also very fuel efficient and extremely quiet. So you're not listening to loud engine noise for hours on end, and you're not going back and forth to the gas dock every other hour. These boats are extremely efficient in both their sound and their fuel consumption. And you've got all of that control here with the throttle. You've got all of this functionality, including some optional functionality like adding a heater to your Supreme. And I've got a heater vent that'll blow on me, just me, the driver from here, keeping me warm. But as always, I've always got access to what is the most important thing, which is my visibility. The driver's seat has a flip up bolster so I can sit up higher if I'd like, or I can sit down a little bit lower because there's still a lot of real estate between the top of the windshield and the top of the dash. So I have plenty of viewable area for the water in front of me. I also have a lot of space to be able to see what's happening in front of me, but also still control the things that I need to control. One of which is the center stinger wake plate, which allows me to change the running attitude of the boat. And I can control that without having to look at it or take my eyes off the water with this bump switch. On the left-hand side, I can bump the switch up, which will bring my plate up, or I can bump it down, which will bring my plate down. So I have control over all of that functionality without losing sight of that water in front of me. Basically, I've got all the control and all the visibility to give everybody the best ride they need in this Supreme. The 2026 Supreme S220 is a walk-through open bow 22-foot boat. What does it mean, walk through open bow? Well, just what it sounds like. I can walk through very easily from the main lounge of the boat into the bow. And some boats, it's a little more of a cramped walkway. In the S220, I've got plenty of room to walk through and take a seat in this comfortable bow. Now, in a 22-foot boat, you would think my feet would touch. I'd be a little cramped up here, but I'm really not. And I have access to my stereo system, grab handles, cup holders. I even have an optional bow filler cushion, so I've made this bow a playpen. I can have another friend up in the bow with me. And believe it or not, the bow, not only is it super comfortable, it's a really smooth ride. And that is all because of the Easy V hull. It is a modified deep V hull, so it allows this boat to cut through choppy water like nobody's business, and it gives you a really smooth ride, even in the bow, which typically is rough in other competitive products. The bow is the place you want to be. I hope you've enjoyed learning about the 2026 Supreme S220. This boat allows you to surf, wake, and ride Supreme. But don't take my word for it. Visit your local Supreme Boats dealer and let us prove it to you on the water today.